Well, Samira's been banned to start us off with eStar again on blue side. They're like, no worries, we'll just get rid of this pick and we'll see what comes out at the first pick. Because OMG last time it was the Thresh here. They had a lot of focus on Xiaoxi in this draft, but taking away the Olaf from Hacker means we're going to see a very different draft.
Yeah, and again, you could go with the first pick Kai'Sa now that both S-tier junglers are gone. The other difference in this draft is that with the Samira ban, Galio is now open. We know that's been Wuming's one of his favorite and just overall best champions. Again, it allows him to enable Aki like we talked about going into game one.
Okay, OMG, they just go with a safe option again. Remember, like, Wuming took 3 bans last time around with the Galio, but they just want to put him right back on the Orianna.
And I think you could expect maybe they do just go with a similar first rotation as well. Maybe you just go back to picking up the Alistar here once again. It's a champion that, sure, you don't provide a lot of pressure in the laning phase, but it's much more about those team fights where if you're game one, I think OMG can think, hey, it doesn't really matter what happens too much in the early laning phase. We could just play for those full-on 5v5s.
And with the Jhin in the end, part of that with the pick. Going to go down to Eric, so Jhin and discussion that we'll have across today. Where do we go from here? Irma, he loved the Galio in 2020. You know, we said the same about Wuming at the start of broadcast, so wouldn't be too much of a surprise to facilitate Kai'Sa.
Especially when in game one draft, you're talking a lot about like, hey, Orianna, Syndra, Zoe, TF, Galio, like a lot of these champions were picked or banned. It kind of pinches your pull into where you're either going like Victor, and Victor I think is very hard to slot into just any comp. He's not a champion that's that versatile. So the fact that they have now left the Galio open and OMG have indexed right back into the Orianna, I think this is a pick that makes sense. Obviously pairs well with the fact that, hey, we expect the Kai'Sa to be jumping in. You can combo the Galio ultimate with that. And maybe we do see the tried and true combo coming out with the likes of Camille Galio. Obviously a very straightforward comp, can play towards the top side. Very good at locking down immobile carries, which OMG's first rotation has both of.
But let's be very realistic, eStar's comp as well, you know, that can still be a flex Galio. So, you know, while we normally see Galio or Camille paired up in solo lanes, there is some flexibility that can be played with for eStar for Xiaoxi.
Yep, we have seen Galio support quite a few times. It is typically picked into the Leona. I think it's pretty much only been picked into Leona, maybe one game against like an Alistar or a Thresh, so not too good where, again, if you're playing into the likes of an Alistar, you go for something like the Justice Punch or the Taunt, and Alistar can just very easily knock you away or just kind of absorb that full combo. You will get lane prio, but I'd say most supports get lane prio against Alistar anyway, so I do expect to see that one picked up by Irma going into the game.
And you can see that OMG expecting that too. They're like, all right, well, let's start banning away some of the supports that Xiaoxi could go for. He was on Rakan in game one, but hook champions, playmaking champions, that's what suits this eStar's support the best. That's why Set is a priority here for OMG to take away.
And I wonder if, yeah, they're just going to allow the Leona over for the likes of an Alistar. It is a bit of a handshake, right? This is kind of the new like Nautilus versus Leona where you're both tanky, you're both engaged champions, you can both kind of ignore each other. It's a bit more about AD carry matchups and who like missteps within the laning phase. So I wonder if OMG, they're just going to go once again back towards the top lane pick. I guess it makes more sense this time around when eStar don't have their jungle shown already. So you can go comfortably knowing your top lane matchup and then look for counter pick in the jungle role.
In the very least, feels like, you know, a strength that you can play to. I want to pause because it changes to Graves in the last second. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have a fun stat for you. And Lyric, don't forget this because 5 for 19. He is 5 and 19 in the LPL. Graves has a 20% win rate after 24 games.
Oh, which is pretty surprising, right? Because I don't feel like in isolation it's necessarily a problem with Graves, but we just have so many comps that are... So many jungle champions that fit better into, I'd say, like more relevant compositions, right? Like when we see things like the Samira or the Kai'Sa, these champions that are already indexing, hey, we're going to go in, we're going to build these all-in compositions. Something like a Pantheon or an Olaf just fits those so much better. Or when you pull out an AP jungler, which AP junglers are pretty strong into Graves, especially something like a Nidalee or a Lilia where you have outrange potential. True Grit doesn't give magic resist. Easy to build those comps as well. So I feel like there's a lot of other comps you can build against Graves and Graves teams that just kind of work better.
But hey, Lyric, I'm seeing a Lee Sin. Different pick. People should be pogging at this because Hacker's Lee Sin is a speciality that we've seen over the years. It's one of his best champions, and it's something that when in meta, Hacker can really flourish on. So we've got a pretty strong jungler here, AD jungler versus AD jungler, in fact. and that Ornn will be locked in the end. So Lyric, take me through eStar first, because this is a very different composition with a bit of mid-jungle threat. How do you play this out?
So now we're getting what we were just setting up, like, hey, if OMG are already kind of indexing into a more, like, a stronger 5v5 comp, and they don't need to push down the bottom of the barrel for, like, lower tier picks like Azirs and Rakans, just index into another area. They did that this time around. It's a lot more of a pick composition. Again, you're playing off tempo, you're playing off globals, you're locking people down with the Hextech Ultimatum, following in with the Galio. Kai'Sa's also a very good AD carry at playing with sides, right? You're sitting in mid, you're hovering to a side, throwing out your W, and then ulting in, so expect to see that. We need to see eStar getting off to early advantage. Everyone knows what OMG's composition does. It's the pure 5v5. It is a ton of like wombo combo ultimates. You do have a bit of early pressure in bot side coming out from the Jhin for the Graves to play around, but OMG sticking tried and true to their first game win.
Okay, well, if OMG can pull it out again, because the team fighting was their strongest element, it'll have to be off the back of someone different than top lane Aatrox, right? Because New in game 1 had such a great performance. He was part of the reason they won the fights in the end. This time he's on the Ornn, and the carry potential going to be more so onto the jungle position. Lyric, I'm curious, because for OMG, while they have the same comp, running into something so different, so strong in pick potential, could definitely be something that pulls them behind in this second game.
The thing is, it does feel good for OMG that, like, you're not the team on the timer. The pressure isn't on you to make things happen and make mistakes. At the end of the day, if the game just goes kind of stale and even, you're gonna win. So OMG, eStar, I'm sorry, are definitely the team that's feeling more pressured, despite the fact that they're the ones that have the tools to make things happen.
Okay, if the pressure gets to them, it'll be a quick 2-0, and for OMG after game 1, I'm sure they'll be flourishing with this win as we go into game 2, and the Gyos come out. I will say, if anyone's interested, you know, maybe when hopefully people can come over for Worlds this year, I will say you can buy those neon signs off of some of the online stores, and they're pretty cheap. So, you know, I'm your guy if you need anything like that, but you can put anyone on there. I can hear the ambulance Lyric. I don't know who it's coming for, though, as eStar and OMG run to the Rift, and runes are pretty standard here. Across the board, you know, Phase Rush Graves, we've talked about so many times, it hurts. Nothing too uncharacteristic for the meta.
Nope, and for people wondering, since we don't see all that much Lee Sin, we've actually only seen it once in the LPL. This far was picked up by Karsa. This still played quite a bit in solo queue, just for the fact that I think pro players enjoy these more, you know, mechanically intensive champions. He still just does buy Gore Drinker like a lot of other champions, does use it quite easily. So Gore Drinker into Starex is what we could probably expect to see coming out from Hacker. And Hacker might be in a more comfortable position this time around when we talked about, hey, on OMG, he actually played a lot around his top side of the map. You have good ganks set up in the mid lane, Justice Punch into the taunt. Should at least blow Wooming's cleanse, even potentially flash. And then you could look for early ganks onto New if ZS can win trades hard enough. You obviously lock him down with the hookshot, wall shot, and set up for Hacker with an easy Sonic Wave.
Makes for such an interesting conversation because ZS hasn't been a standout player in my opinion. ZS has come into the field pretty quiet on this eStar roster, while people like Irma's been performing well, you know, Shousey and Hacker himself. So this puts him in a position where he, I guess, hasn't flourished or hasn't really been, again, a standout.
Yeah, this composition is really going to test the carry potential of ZS and also going to test the macro of eStar overall, because even though we're setting up things like, hey, they're on a timer, they have Lee Sin, they're not going to be able to go strict front-to-back team fights, they are going to have ways to play out the mid-lane game. They're going to be able to get Prio through sides, they're going to be able to play out through this Camille lane, try and turn a pick into a 4v5, or look for a flank with Camille. So there are tools available, it's just much harder to execute. Oh.
Shousey's popped back, he went too deep. Okay, he's gone. Well, he's a little bit low as mid-lane Hacker's here. Now, you wonder how the Blind Monk sees that Wooming's overextended, but he feels it in the Force. Flashes with Cripple, Sonic Wave waiting. Wooming doesn't get to flash because Hacker outplayed it for first blood.
Yeah, just really clean coming out from him. Doesn't even need the Sonic Wave. Gets in enough range to just be able to dish him out with the E and those auto attacks like you talked about. We mentioned, hey, you have a great mid-jungle setup here in this game. It's going to be more solo lane oriented, and eStar don't want to stop.
Teleport in a big minion wave. Aki's here, though, and Irma's like, I don't know if we're going to do this anymore. New's still low. Shield Drain used. Bella's Breath there, but they flash. Immediately, the Winds of War predicted the flash. Irma, you are very nice indeed.
It's nice to see eStar go to this more fast-paced tempo composition, creating picks in multiple lanes, more gank-heavy style as well, and starting to create a bit of an advantage. I like that they realized there, hey, we can still pull off this dive. We have 3 members here. If we can lock down the Ornn, we can land the rest of our skill shots and burst him immediately. Graves' damage is so negligible at this point, it doesn't even matter.
Well, 2-0 on the scoreboard. eStar starting this game off like they did in game 1, Lyric. We're not gonna, we're not gonna call this over. We're not gonna call this very comfortable indeed for eStar, but at the very least, Hacker with the kill. Irma as well picks up 1 from that top side roam, and he gets 2 stacks on the Darksteel, as mentioned. So, in a very good position for eStar to continue snowballing this lead. So, how do you continue this forward? Does Hacker repeat gank top? Do we see more pressure through mid?
Yeah, I definitely think it's always nice to look mid first if you can get that opportunity available. You are at the point as Irma where you're going to be able to start matching the clear of Wooming, so it's not like it's going to always be a free gank setup to where the Orianna's pushing in. I think looking bot could be quite difficult. OMG's bot lane took very defensive summoners, right? We have Exhaust coming out for Cold and the Cleanse on Eric, so that one can be hard to find unless they're really disrespecting. So I think we just keep popping back and forth between these soul lanes, right? Even if you don't get a gank mid and like blow summoners or get a kill, just help ensure that Irma's safe to get pressure and then keep roaming top as your 3-man core.
Shadowing the wave for the Galio mid, feels like something that Tien did very well in 2019 on the FPX Worlds roster, where Doomby could get freed up and then roam towards these solo lanes. You can see that Irma's started doing that. Some deep wards up towards Raptors before Wolf's side of OMG's jungle, and he's getting so much wave clear down and then just moving, adding that pressure as well. Even in the solo lane, good shield of Durant here with the punch in the end. And Irma doing well.
And it's also the reason why I at least prefer Aftershock, honestly, over the likes of Predator. It just makes these trades so easy, right? You land the Justice Punch, you're going to guarantee the Aftershock taunt into Justice Punch and your passive, and then any return damage that Orianna returns, you don't even feel it. You can walk away scot-free, and you're just going to keep guaranteeing this easy wave prio.
With the extra AP, the Winds of War clear so much easier as well, right? The backline minions don't really exist, and it makes a bit of a difference as Hacker's now up here, and Irma making the roam. Lyric, you set this up so well. If he shadows or goes in, doesn't matter. Sonic Wave, Resonating Strike, and Hacker doesn't have ulti, but the Winds of War there again, waiting for the Searing Charge. Irma's trying to be a big brain today, and he'll help Hacker get his 2nd kill in the process.
Yep, though, shall see wanting to be aggressive.
We're going to see second skin passive comes up. Eric gets low. Bop here from Cold in the end. As top lane, we're diving onto Wooming. The hero's entrance, Wooming stuck. And these solo laners flourishing with the help of Hacker. While bottom lane, if it's a solo kill, now you put it in the bin. Cold and Eric getting low, but Rat and Shousey traded on as the wave pushes in.
We need to remember we have defensive summoners for OMG's bot lane. We did see the exhaust use just there, so quite hard for eStar to just go for that. It won't be until the level 6 point when Rat is able to just jump in to where we can potentially see them look for a 2v2 kill onto the likes of Eric. My one question though is, how did Wooming end up there? How did he get locked down and, end up going down to where you should just realize, hey, you're not really able to contest this topside turret. New isn't even respawned yet, if I do remember correctly, so I feel like you just give over plates, you look to pressure mid, rotate Aki over, and try to at least contest or make a trade elsewhere on the map. You said I called this topside play earlier. I didn't call it. I didn't predict it hysterics. Anyone could have known that this play was going to come through off of that first advantage that eStar had, and they're just, following their composition to a T.
Don't ever doubt yourself. You talked about Hacker's influence, and that's what made the play, and this play we're seeing here. Hookshot, wall shot, this time actually hits the wall. Yeah, chat, we all saw it, didn't we? New's going to get locked up against the wall himself, and you know what? Kick not needed. Shousey somehow picks up the kill with a bit of sunlight, and as the sun goes into the eyes of OMG, eStar realized there's a Rift Herald spawning.
The thing I love about this type of play is, we set up last game, right? Shousey was handpicked by Sword Art and kind of trained under him. One thing Sword Art would do a lot on the Flash Wolves roster when they brought in MMD was make these early ganks around the top lane. I think it's not, like, too uncommon for supports these days, but it's also not common. And Shousey is one of the supports in LPL who will commonly look for these ganks top, which as a top laner just feels so bad. What can you do when, again, the enemy bot laner is up in your lane? So nice play done by eStar. Massive gold advantage, only giving up 1 Drake in the process as well.
It's the play where in solo queue, the top laner's ping and missing towards the bottom lane. Like, where's your support? Where's your enemy support? You get so toxic, or rather upset, right? Not me, though. I'm a very good gamer, and that's the serious truth. But at the very least, while Xiaoxi's making the roam and leaving Rat on an island, there is a lead developing for Eric, and getting some plates in the process feels nice, but not nice enough to justify that 3K and a bit gold gap at 9 minutes in the game.
True. You're up by 2 waves and you have 1 plate onto Eric, but we've seen in the past circumstance that when it is just them in the isolated 2v2, Rat and Xiaoxi do have ways to play around it, and actually, I'd say at this point are going to start having kill pressure now that we do have these ultimates coming out. They can pretty much just ignore Cold and jump right onto Eric, and unless Cold's able to, kind of like before, bop someone under turret or keep Rat away, you know, Rat ults in and you're holding your headbutt, that potentially Eric will go down.
If Eric does go down as well, you're like, well, let's throw everything else by the wayside. Lyric, at this point in the game, this is normally where we'd start discussing comp interactions around second drag and third drag and next Herald. You've already kind of told me what needs to be done by OMG. For eStar, it only gets better from here, right? With the playing through the side lane with the Camille, who's most likely going to have this Trinity Force. Or rather, excuse me, Divine Sunder as we see the Phage. So it does feel like you can't put a foot wrong, and eStar have so many options moving into the mid game.
And I just wonder where eStar will drop their Herald. I think I would prefer to see use top, just keep all linning onto ZS, and then once you get the top tier done right, you one, have the long lane for him to continuously win out in the 1v1, but two, it'll also offer him a lot of roam potential for him to hover towards mid, and then you could start sending Irma and Hacker down to the bot side, and you have all 3 lanes covered. So, again, it's going to be a bit of an interesting gambit by eStar. It does look like they're just going to drop the Herald mid, though.
It does feel good if you give the plates over to the Galio. I mean, he still has a lot of burst potential. He'll have the Hextech Rocket Belt sooner and Shockwave used, but is it in time? No, Herald's down, targetable. Means the turret's going to get the little boop, and there it goes, 160 each. And Hacker gets part of that too. He already has Gore Drinker. This is a very big Lee Sin that's going to solo kill.
And the nice part about them trying to take down mid turret, right, is the fact that since both your other side lanes are pushing, it's going to make it very easy to control both top and bot quadrants of the enemy jungle. So you're going to be restricting Aki and where he can go. You're going to know OMG's map movements. You're going to be able to start denying him a lot of jungle camps as well. So, again, the question is, can eStar kind of keep hold of this chokehold that they have on OMG this time around? Definitely feels like they have the tools to do so.
It definitely does, and showing cleanliness here will make up for that game 1 loss, make up for that 5k advantage, rather. They threw away a round 1 fight, and just note that it is going to extend in gold in this game as well, because ZS has Divine Sunderer now, and that whacks a wallop as New gets uppercutted to the face. He will go low. He'll probably have to go home and cry, probably to his mother. Who else is going to listen at this point? Because when Camille's hitting you that hard, there's no one else to go to. A 50 CS lead is brewing, 40 at the moment, will continue as she pushes the turret.
And his gold lead as well, just not only coming from the CS, right? He's going to be able to get more and more turret plates. Also now going to have a TP advantage, so any kind of shenanigans that go on the bot side, ZS will be able to be there to where New is going to have no way to respond.
New still without his first item, Lyric too. Cold and Wooming, posturing aggressively, respect paid by ZS, but then the other side of the map to benefit is the one that is probably the furthest behind in comparison, but still up in CS, and now turret plates are going to balance too.
You know what would be interesting? So, you know, me and you were watching CBLOL the other day, and we saw an interesting Camille build where typically Camille's, if they go Divine Sunder in these tank matchups, you'll see something like Tiamat into Sterex, and then you finish your Ravenous Hydra. But we saw Divine Sunder into Blade of the Rune King, and then playing solely for the 1v1. I don't expect that to happen, but, you know, I just like keeping up all these interesting builds and what is possible.
As engaged in the bottom lane, cleanse used by Eric, but further to your point, it was nice to see that confidence out of a top laner. I can't recall the name of the top laner, that's my fault, but Blade of the Rune King just shredded through in that 2-item combination. And at the very least, even with 1 item here, ZS having teleport is such a threat. No one really wants to deal with him. As Shockwave used to clear the wave again, punch down with Demolish. And Irma gets first turret blood, 610 gold right into the pocket, while the dragon is being done and uncontested by Hacker.
Also, at this point, right, you have 3 lanes of priority. Hacker can do whatever he wants, uncontested. Anywhere Aki goes, they're going to know. Now they've broken that mid-tier 1 down, so we're going to start to see that stranglehold kind of go further, where eStar can start controlling vision in both sides of OMG's jungle. They're going to know where Aki is. They're going to start taking his Raptor camps off spawns, starting to contest buffs, and continue to grow that gold lead further by placing Aki further behind.
It does feel like Aki right now is just trying to, play the catch-up game. He's got a Mortal Shield Bow. So you've already talked about this. What is the build, Lyric? What did you call it?
Wait, what? Oh, for Graves.
Yes, the Immortal Shield Bow build.
It's not my build. I'm pretty sure LS was the one who coined the term Negan build, but again, when you have Immortal Shield Bow versus the likes of the Gale Forest, I think the Gale Forest, a lot of pros just prefer it in general just because of, again, the like
free
options
dash
it gives you, yeah. But it feels like that's better if they're like squishy enemies on the opposing team, or it's not very brawly, very melee heavy to where you need a lot of these kind of survive tools to where you can go this build. You're surprisingly tanky once you get the Bloodthirster. You pretty much heal up from like 2 autos even when you're like 25% HP. And I think it's a fun build to see, but we will see how it does for OMG when they are 5k gold behind.
Hey, when there's this much damage in the game right now from eStar's perspective, keep yourself alive. He hasn't had too many interactions with the enemy team, but that time will come, especially around this 3rd dragon as we get towards these objectives. And speaking of which, lane's now extended in that top side, Lyric. We already saw mid lane turret go down. Camille now has an extended lane to play through. As ZS is sitting in the bottom side, meanwhile, OMG are grouping up to try and capitalize and kill the Scissor Leg Lady, but turret's just going to go down. They find the engage. Hextech Ultimatum with the hero's entrance. Cold going to get knocked up. He's in the Unbreakable form as defenses circling around this cow, but he survives. Sonic Wave lands. Hacker not willing to take it as even New has moved down.
Yeah, I like that Hacker wasn't going to look for that that Sonic Wave, because at the same time, we're back to a circumstance where eStar want to keep the map big. They want to keep the members of OMG separated and just kind of keep winning out through these individual laning leads. Go into vision, look for the numbers advantage, pick someone off, and again, keep the map very big to where OMG want to keep the map small. As often as you can have your 5 members together, you are going to look for that, even if you do have to sacrifice something like 1 wave in a side lane to find that, 5v4, 5v3 in the mid lane that you want.
It brings up an interesting topic while we see Raptors being contested. Aki just wants his camp, but Hacker keeps on stealing it away. Brings up an interesting topic that OMG talked about a team fighting comp, but they're so far behind. 5,000 gold just about still on the scoreboard that this team fighting comp might have to utilize the chokes, might have to utilize the small spaces, clear out some of that vision as we can see on our screen, and find a pick or two to get the fight started.
The problem is that OMG will always be the team kind of answering waves. We've seen, right, that eStar are the ones who are pushing all 3 lanes. They're always going to be able to control vision. They're always going to be able to be on the neutral first. It's not too bad for the side of OMG since they are very tanky, right? You don't feel too bad as New or Cold kind of having to face check brushes, but eStar don't necessarily have to walk out of river into the chokes to fight you. You are the ones who need to walk into them. So OMG, I'm sorry, definitely more limited with their options. eStar, especially with the lead that we're seeing on the likes of Lee Sin and Camille, even if they do go for a team fight at this point, if they can pull off a flank, we should be able to see them just burst out Eric or Wooming outright. They land like their combo onto either of them, they are just dead.
ZS, got to keep eyes on him. The level 11 Camille against New, who's 10. Very different roles in the fight to capitalize that argument, if that was the right word for it. Irma caught out in the top side, but he just justice punches away. And to finish what I was saying, ZS has such a big level lead, and he's almost got the Tiamat, so we're not seeing Blade of the Wrong King. Will Irma survive? New question up in the air. Shield of Duran, teleport being used. OMG like, wait, they have TPs too? We gotta run. ZS extends the legs once again. Shockwave back. That's in his direction as he flashes away. TP for New too. 4 members up here. Eric joins the play. And OMG, they're here to party, but eStar, they want to party.
This is also why we criticize ZS, right? To where he looks for the hookshot, wallshot onto the Alistar, who's already ulted. You're not going to be able to burst him down. I mean, eStar don't know where some of the members of OMG are, but you know where all of your team is, and none of them are around topside. Has to blow the flash immediately, which takes away some of those options we talked about eStar having if they ever did opt into or were forced into a 5v5 scenario. So ZS is kind of showing the rookie sparkle that he has, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, the sparkle's shining bright. Okay, there's a lot more than meets the eye to what we've seen at the start of the split, holding the lane well. Meanwhile, Irma's just absorbing pressure up in this top side, while Hacker's getting a free dragon. Look at the bottom lane. Herald's going to push in. Shelly has met some minions. This is like, you know, maybe like an artist and the fans trying to bat them away so you can get into the venue. The venue's waiting. Big sellout crowd on this inner turret, and eStar moving forward are going to take this with ease.
And good thing, we also see Irma stopping backs on the top half of the map, so eStar potentially could even keep trying to force this if they want. It does look like they're going to back off because of the minion wave being small and Herald already being chunked, but good by Irma on the other side to buy time, and nice way to kind of keep your gold lead going forward. The problem for the side of eStar, though, is you've already broken out all the inner turrets. It's going to be quite hard to break down mid-inner, and your Camille isn't really at a point yet where she can just outright ignore the Ornn or solo kill him under turret without getting quite a good trade first. So I feel like this is where we're going to see a lot of eStar's momentum stalled. It feels like the play for them now is going to be pushing in sides and rotating mid and trying to force that mid lane inner from a numbers advantage. Or if they're feeling confident, if they're feeling, you know, feeling a bit on edge, they're feeling good, they're feeling lucky, they go for the massive Baron bait.
Something you brought up that interests me is whenever we see long lanes, you know, with a lot of side lane compositions with the comp we have here for eStar, you just think Camille would flourish. With the longer the lane, the better. But you brought up a really interesting topic that's like, well, if it's too long, too early in the game when Camille can't solo kill or continue threatening against anyone, then it actually stifle, what's the word I'm looking for? Stipends? Actually slows down. Stalls, what? There we go. Stalls the tempo of eStar.
The thing is, though, right, it's not a negative that they got those third downs. They still got the injection of gold. The thing is, it just changes the way you would play to where it's much more about push and move, unless you're going to dedicate the resources to playing around the Camille and, like, Ornn overextend so you can try and get the pick. You're just not at the point to where you can, like, dive him under turret off of, you know, one trade. So it's not necessarily about you solo taking the top side turret.
Okay, well, I'll keep that in mind because you can see that OMG, before he gets towards that second item, might be wanting to match. They're moving into vision, but this vision is controlled by eStar. Control wards across the board, and OMG have to back away. Inner turret still under threat. eStar still waiting for that pick. And you can see, even though Irma's on the bottom side, they're still willing to go in with the 4.
Yeah, and again, we're just going to be at a point that we talked about like 5 or 6 minutes ago where it's about eStar controlling both quadrants of the jungle, which they've been able to do ever since they broke down mid-turret, taking these jungles away from Aki. So even though it doesn't look like they're necessarily expanding their gold advantage, as shall see.
Solar Flare, OMG starting the fight, but I think they might end it as Hero's entrance comes in. Hacker flies through like the wind. OMG with the numbers disadvantage, but they still engage. Shoutzy gets pulled back with the Shockwave, and Hacker taking the 4th shot in the end. He has to flash too as the cow sees his prey. I didn't know that was that kind of relationship. But Hacker has to walk away, and it's a 1-for-1 trade in the end, which, you know, for OMG, benefits them.
Definitely, we saw eStar just getting a bit ahead of themselves. They were trying to play off the tempo of pulling people back and forth between the lanes. They thought they found a pick onto Aki in the jungle, which they did, but still very easy for OMG to just turn and realize, hey, we're able to take this fight. ZS is also on the top side of the map, doesn't have TP either. And even if ZS was there, OMG are probably close enough to their turret where it doesn't matter. We will get a replay. Shoutzy, feeling himself, does go for the ultimate, jumps in right away. They do have the burst, but Cold also doing a nice job of buying time. New follows up. And again, the carries of OMG are so close to their turret, it wouldn't even matter if ZS was here. They're just able to get the free return kill from OMG. From eStar, I think, getting a bit too ahead of themselves.
Just a little bit, Lyric, let's be honest. What we saw in game 1 keeps us skeptical running into this one. eStar's getting vision control around Baron for now, though, after that bit of a whoopsie. But let's be honest as well, we still have a 2-item Camille who's in the side lane now with a Ravenous Hydra. Moving to bot where the inhibitor turret is next on the menu. And with all these waves pushing in and all the vision laid down by eStar, the map is still very much theirs at 23 minutes.
Yeah, and Dragon's the next objective we're going to keep our eye on, right? So we're going to see the side lanes get pushed out. I expect some recalls coming out from eStar, as we already see happening with Shoutzy. And then we're going to see all the members start funneling towards that bot side. If eStar can pick this up, they're going to be on Soul Point. For the likes of OMG, I would like to see Wooming start heading down already, because you're going to have to send 5 people mid first to guarantee that they are able to just kind of walk safely onto the objective.
As Vision continues to be the contention here, Wooming just catching up in this top side. Baron being started, Lyric. eStars want to hit this one fast, but are they looking for the turn?
I just don't understand. Hysteric's Dragon's up. Neither teams are on Dragon. I guess OMG can't be there because for some reason eStar are trying to force their hand. Not able to really successfully do the bait, but hey, it looks like they're going to keep going. ZS is actually already making his way down. I wonder if ZS will do Dragon while eStar is forcing Baron, but I feel like you're just spreading yourself too thin.
He's starting it. You can see he's taking a little bit of damage, so he's starting the Dragon for now, and ZS will do this quickly. Baron pulled off of from eStar, and OMG like, okay, that's fine, but they will give over Soul Point now to eStar for this Ocean Soul.
Like, it's weird because it's kind of cheeky in the sense that it does stop OMG from being able to go to Dragon themselves. You're kind of pulling their attention to Baron while allowing ZS to just go and take this one first. But at the same time, I feel like eStar could have just pushed out mid and all turned to Baron as you're having ZS push a side lane. So, it's weird that they took that route to get a result they would have gotten anyway, just in a much more uncommon fashion.
Yeah, they wanted to keep it interesting. What do we say in game 1? eStar wanted to keep the game interesting, so they gave a couple of things over.
Yes, they didn't pick up the Rift Herald.
Yeah, and then they lost the game as a later result. So, ZS sitting in the side lane once again, trying to test the patience of New. And yeah, there you go. There's the damage of Divine Sunder when you first hit your target. Double Q is huge as well. And with the sustain, ZS can stay here and draw attention from OMG.
Yeah, and this is what it's all about, right? You go for the short trade, you back off, and then you start kind of whittling the Ornn lower and lower until you get to that potential point where you can just either dive the turret or just even ignore him, start autoing it. You know, hey, I see the rest of OMG on the map. The Ornn damage is quite negligible. And ZS does have to back off because we did see Eric make his way over. But like you said, with the sustain, ZS is just going to keep going for the same play pattern. Go for the short trade, chunk him out slower and slower, and potentially try to get that top lane turret.
And this is what the difference between like a mid to top tier team is. Irma teleports in. I was going to say, testing the patience, whittling him down, pulling over OMG. He's TP'd and achieved nothing. That TP, Lyric, out of 10.
So, I'm going to give it a straight up 0 because typically what you would see here as a team is, right, eStar is supposed to be the team on Baron. You try to just force out New's TP. You're not actually trying to burn the Baron, and then you take bot side turret. eStar don't do that. Irma TP's bot for no reason, and we get a bunch of nothing happening once again.
They're called Forge God used. Shockwave dodged away from Rat, who has to heal in the end as well. Bullets are flying down as Xiaoxi's blocking for his AD carry. The fork shot tries to hit to the right of the mark. So a couple of ultis used across, and mainly from OMG, but Summoners burnt from eStar.
Yeah, and OMG now at least have a bit of breathing room, but still, I don't expect eStar to be able to break open this bottom. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. As New gets traded on.
See, it's ultimate used actually in the Hextech ultimatum. Sonic Wave misses, but New getting tagged down. He's ignited. Irma gets the kill, and the turret goes with it as well. Onto Cold, who absorbs the damage. OMG now kiting back as the kick from Wooming may have secured the game. Hacker's done all he can as Wooming has to flash away. It's everyone forward. The committal there from eStar as the Justice Punch once again onto Eric, who's left teamless with a double kill over to Rat and eStar. This time they ain't making mistakes. It took one massive punch and an anticlimactic ending. But at least we're going to game 3 as Eric has to stand there and watch.
I just love that eStar throw the textbook out the window. They don't need to try to pull the members of OMG apart. They just go, hey, I'm going to ult this guy. We're going to kill him and we're going to end the game. We are 1-1 in this